Welcome to the Mind Body Couple podcast.
I'm Tanner Murtagh.
And I'm Ann Hampson.
This podcast is dedicated to helping you unlearn chronic pain and symptoms.
If you need support with your healing, you can book in for a consultation with one of our therapists at painpsychotherapy.ca.
Or purchase our online course at embodycommunity.com to access in-depth education, somatic practices, recovery tools, and an interactive community focused on healing. Links in the description of each episode. Hi, everyone.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome back to the podcast. We have some exciting news.
Oh, yeah. We've been building for this podcast for a long time.
I've been preparing it in my mind for the last year.
Yeah, so we're super excited.
We are launching our course very soon, and I'll explain the details. But we want to discuss a little bit what's involved in this.
Yeah, for sure.
And at the end of this episode, we're offering a free somatic practice that is from our course.
Yeah, totally. We want kind of you guys, the people that tune into our podcast, to really get an idea of what this course is about. And so we're super excited to offer this piece for you guys. Yeah.
And we're calling it the Somatic Safety Method course.
Yes.
And it's an in-depth, comprehensive course to healing chronic pain and symptoms by treating the brain and nervous system. And especially our recent episodes that we've been posting, they really are from the course.
Yeah.
They're course content. Sometimes some of the topics are cut right from the PowerPoint slides.
Yeah.
Our hundreds of PowerPoint slides that Ann and Alex edited for me.
Yeah, Tanner needs us to edit it for him. So just keep in mind how beautiful they look. If you access the course, that is my handiwork.
Yeah. And the course design was Alex.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We need to give some credit to Alex.
Come on now. Don't take Alex's
really not
credit.
As much credit to Tanner as he would like.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. So the description of this episode, it has the link to our new agency, Embody Community. You can go to embodycommunity.com. I want to state here clearly that the way it's spelled is the letter M followed by body.
Yeah, I think you need to say that again because I feel like it is a bit confusing.
I know. When we did this, we were like, people are going to get confused by this name.
Yeah, totally.
It's a play on words. M, body. Mind, body.
Yeah.
I just...
Oh, good. Very smart, Tanner. Very good.
We thought it was pretty witty.
Yeah. No, it is. I'm sure people think it is too. Good job.
Oh, thank you. So, what's included in this course here? It's a giant course.
But we don't want to scare people off. You're talking about how much there is, and there's a lot there, but we wanted to provide a lot of content for people to really get everybody tons of resources to almost pick and choose from, to pick through that might resonate with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we know healing's complex. We've discussed this before. I think a danger in this mind-body world is sometimes things get simplified too much.
Yes.
And it doesn't work for people. And then people, feel a lot of shame or guilt, like they're not doing something right.
Yeah.
So it's a giant course, but people can kind of pick and choose what's potentially helpful for their brain and nervous system.
Yeah, totally.
And so what's included is there's 10 plus hours of educational videos.
That are entertaining, not just educational.
Oh,
that are
entertaining and educational.
Our animals make appearances as well.
Yes, the cats.
Yes.
Even MCAT is passed.
Yes.
He's in the video.
Yes, he's a star of some of them.
He's the star. He's living on through this course.
So educational and, dare I say, fun videos.
It was fun. Me and Ann danced in one of them.
Oh.
So.
Tanner made me. But I did enjoy myself because it was good.
It was a good time, right? You could dance with us. There are 60 plus brain retraining and somatic practices.
Well, and I think this is really like the education is very important. We need that. But this is really the core of the course. And so why do you think like the brain retraining and somatic practices are so important for people, Tanner?
Well, this is really the meat and potatoes of the work. You know, the education's important, understanding chronic pain and symptoms, how they function, understanding the nervous system, all of that's in the course and we need that.
Yeah.
But then we dive into all the practices.
Yes.
And I was a little overzealous when making the practices. And I remember Anne and Alex looked at them and they were like, what the heck?
But one thing I think is so great about the large number of practices is, again, people can feel out, okay, what somatic practices do I enjoy and feel good to me and what don't? And so there's choices and there's options and there's tons to explore.
Yeah. And at the end of this episode, we're going to share one of these practices with you all free.
Yeah.
And so there is also 30 plus interactive worksheets and an online community group where we'll be answering people's questions as needed and different things.
Yeah, totally. Because we recognize that a lot of this work is done in community and we need that connection.
Yeah. And so the Somatic Safety Method, as we've kind of talked about, we didn't just come up with this. We've pulled from evidence-based approaches, including pain reprocessing therapy, somatic experiencing, polyvagal theory, emotional awareness and expression therapy, and some Qigong practices.
Yeah.
And so, as people probably know from watching or listening to our podcast, is we're nervous system focused.
Yes.
It's not just about retraining the brain, it's about nervous system regulation.
Yeah.
And this polyvagal lens helps us understand how we can actually heal chronic symptoms by making our nervous system more flexible and regulated. And I'll explain that in a second. But we want to have the ability to be able to go into fight, flight, freeze, or shutdown and shift back out with more ease. So an example of this, I have a great example of this that happened yesterday. We were having like some technical issues setting up our course. And Anne came home and I was just in a fight or flight zone, like just too high alert. There was definitely a half an hour or so that was pretty poor in terms of this. But within 20 minutes, I was able to shift back out, feel calm, feel connected to the present moment. And that's what we're going for here.
Well, and I know for you, Tanner, that's taken a lot of work and practice to be able to do that in terms of understanding your body, tending to nervous system regulation. And so this is something kind of you've learned from the information that we're giving in the course to do.
And that's it, is when we're all going to go into fight, flight, freeze, shutdown sometimes. But we want to give people the ability to approach that energy with gentleness, curiosity, being connected to the here and now, and then shift back out with more ease to safety and connection.
And again here, Tanner, can we remind people why nervous system regulation is important in terms of recovering from chronic pain?
Yeah, well, what will happen to people is they'll get the education. They're like, okay, my symptoms are neuroplastic. Got it. I'm bought in.
Yeah.
They'll do some of the brain retraining. But that only takes people so far, because if you're already quite regulated in your life, that's going to work probably wonders. It's going to work great. But if you're dysregulated, you have trauma, you have a hard time approaching, attending to, and releasing emotions, all that deeper work is needed for a lot of people.
Yes, and I see that a lot. So we can know all we want that is neuroplastic, but there's so much more in terms of creating that shift.
Yeah. And so attending to the nervous system, people hear nervous system regulation, and this is what they think. Calmness. Be calm all the time. And when I first learned about nervous system regulation, I tried to do this. I tried to just be calm. I did everything I could through every practice, probably all 60 there in the course. I threw them all at myself. And what would happen is I would end up just shutting down over time because you're not designed to be calm all the time. We want you to be calm more often. Don't get me wrong. That's important. And many people, when they're quite dysregulated, need that.
Yeah.
But we want to be able to attend to all of the sensations in our nervous system with a sense of safety.
Totally. And so, and if we can do that, then our brain learns it's safe and there's no need for chronic pain and symptoms.
Yeah. And this is why we called our approach the Somatic Safety Method. Now, in this meditation or practice that we're going to provide everyone, we're going to do a brief mapping of the nervous system. You're all welcome to follow along if you'd like. But first, why we're doing this. And so what we're actually doing here is we're mapping out the states of the nervous system. And I will explain the states of the nervous system in a second, I promise. But the first step to regulating the nervous system is connecting with the body and knowing what state we're in.
Yes.
Because if we don't have that, what'll happen is people become very disconnected from the body. The state of their nervous system just becomes a story that they're living by. They feel disorganized, lost, and have a hard time knowing what they need to regulate. But through mapping our nervous system and building autonomic nervous system awareness, this can help us separate the story from the state. Understand that the story, the negative thinking in your mind is just following the dysregulation in your body. It can help us see that what's actually causing the dysregulation or regulation. Because if we don't have an awareness of our nervous system, we don't even know what's bringing us to a certain state.
Right.
And it can increase our sense of organization, control, and ability to meet our own needs. And like I said, most importantly, it gives us the ability to, over time, attend to all sensations that we experience in the body. And so this meditation is going to, if that sounded good to you, this is going to support you doing all of that. And actually exploring the sensations within the 3 different states. Now, I know we talk about the 3 states in the nervous system a lot, but I'll name them off again. Dorsal vagal, this is shut down, despair, numb, hopeless, helpless, dissociative. We have sympathetic, mobilized. So not all negative. There's some mobilization, like excitement. Right now I'm talking a little fast. I'm going to mobilize myself.
Is it because you're excited like about
I know,
the
I'm
course
excited.
and stuff?
And so in that sympathetic system, there can be this excitement, this
and it's
passion.
not necessarily bad. So none of these states are wrong or bad. It's just understanding how they impact the nervous system.
Yeah, and understanding when you're in them. And so you go far enough into sympathetic, though, you start to get nervous, irritated, anxious, angry, panic or rage at the extreme ends. And then we have ventral vagal, where we'd all pay to be. We love being here, safe, calm, connected, socially engaged, joyful. And so in this meditation, we're going to support you in mapping out each of these 3 systems.
Yeah.
Now, I want to be clear before we dive into this. You are not nosediving into each of these states. We're going to have you recall a memory that brings on a little bit of the energy for each of the states.
Yeah.
Do not pick the most extreme, horrific memory.
Sure. Yeah.
Flavor. This is what Deb Dana always says. Bring a flavor of the energy on.
Totally. Well, yeah. And I think to highlight that, we're not going into like deep trauma here right now or anything like that.
No.
We're just kind of trying to experience a bit of each state to try it on.
Yeah. And be curious about it. And if it gets too extreme, we can't be curious. We disconnect.
Yeah.
And if you're finding this overwhelming, you can stop at any point. And of course, many people, they do need to reach out to a therapist in their area, of course, for support. So let's dive into the practice.
Let's go through a brief mapping of the autonomic nervous system practice. This activity comes from a therapist named Deb Dana. First, we're going to map the dorsal vagal system, then the sympathetic system, and we're going to finish off with the ventral vagal system so that we finish on a good note. This practice is ideal if you have difficulties tolerating being in the 3 different systems. Begin by remembering a time in the past when your dorsal vagal system was activated, meaning you were mobilized with fear, shut down, numb, or in despair. Spend a moment vividly visualizing this memory. Notice what happens in your body, what occurs to your breathing, your heart rate, and your muscles. What sensations do you start to experience? Notice in this memory what behaviors you engaged in or what you had an urge to do. What occurs to your thoughts when you're in the dorsal vagal system? Now, let's move to the sympathetic system and repeat this process. Remember a time in the past when your sympathetic nervous system was activated, meaning that you were in fight or flight. Pick a time that just brought on a bit of sympathetic energy so you're not overwhelmed. Spend a moment vividly visualizing this memory. Notice what happens in your body, what occurs to your breathing, your heart rate, and your muscles. What sensations do you start to experience? Notice in this memory what behaviors you engaged in or what you had an urge to do. What occurs to your thoughts when you're in the sympathetic system? Finally, let's complete this process by mapping the ventral vagal system. Begin by remembering a time in the past when your ventral vagal system was activated, meaning you felt safe, connected, socially engaged, or calm. Really lean into this memory and bring the ventral vagal state alive. Spend a moment vividly visualizing this memory. Notice what happens in your body, what occurs to your breathing, your heart rate, and your muscles. What sensations do you start to experience? Notice in this memory what behaviors you engaged in or what you had an urge to do. What occurs to your thoughts when you're in the ventral vagal system? And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and return to the room.
All right. So you just experienced one of our somatic practices we have in our course.
Yes, mapping the autonomic nervous system.
Yeah.
So I hope this was helpful for everyone.
Yeah. And kind of a window into what you might experience if you do decide to purchase the course.
Yeah. And if you don't, that's okay too. But this is important stuff, starting to understand the states of our nervous system, right?
Yeah.
And so thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you for listening.
And we'll talk to you next week.
Talk to you next week. Thanks for listening. For more free content, check out the links for our YouTube channel Instagram, and Facebook accounts in the episode description.
We wish you all healing.